Bullies target new black player, unaware he is a karate expert. More stories like this. Subscribe. Story TIRIT was the first day of tryouts at the school gym, and the echo of bouncing basketballs filled the air. The coaches stood on the sidelines, clipboards in hand as players stretched and warmed up. But then, the gym doors creaked open. New black student walked in, quiet, calm, and focused. He wasn't flashy. He didn't have a crowd around him. No brand new sneakers or loud attitude. Just a worn basketball tucked under one arm and a quiet confidence that didn't need announcing. As he stepped onto the court, all eyes slowly turned toward him. The regulars, the ones who thought they owned the gym, immediately sized him up. They leaned in to whisper to each other, their voices low but sharp enough to cut through the buzz. "Who does he think he is?" one of them said. Another scoffed, "Bet he won't last 5 minutes." They didn't know him. They didn't care. They had a reputation to protect. And in their minds, this outsider threatened that. They didn't see someone who came to play. They saw someone to test, to mock, to break before he even got started. The tryouts began, and players split up for drills. The new kid didn't speak a word. He just moved, precise, focused, each step full of intent. But no matter how well he performed, the group of bullies wasn't watching his skills. They were watching for weakness. One nudged the other, laughing under his breath. "Let's welcome him properly." During a passing drill, they sent him the ball only to shove him lightly as he caught it, just enough to make him stumble. "Oops," one of them grinned. The others laughed. He didn't react. He stood up, dusted himself off, and got back into line. No glare, no words, just quiet composure. And that unsettled them even more. In the layup line, one of them tried again, faking a pass only to slam the ball off his shoulder. More laughter. The coach didn't notice, but the others did. Everyone could feel something brewing. The new kid's face remained unreadable. But there was something in the way he moved, fluid, balanced, like someone trained far beyond pickup games and high school courts. He didn't just play basketball. He carried discipline in every step. Still, the bullies weren't done. They whispered again, planning how to really humiliate him during scrimmage. One of them muttered, "Let's make sure he quits before the day's over." They thought he was just another outsider, easy to corner, easy to break, but they had no idea that this quiet player wasn't just there to try out. He had walked in with a storm in his bones, and a lifetime of control behind his calm eyes. And while they plotted ways to make him fall, they were unknowingly writing their own downfall, because they weren't just targeting a new player. They were challenging a warrior who had been trained not to strike first, but to finish it when it mattered most. During the drills, the tension in the gym quietly began to rise. The new player took his position with quiet focus, waiting for the pass like everyone else. But the moment the ball came to him, one of the bullies stuck out a foot and tripped him mid-catch. The ball slipped from his hands and bounced across the floor. He hit the hardwood hard, the sound echoing slightly through the gym. The group of boys chuckled, pretending to help him up with mock-concerned expressions. "My bad, man," one of them said, smirking. "Didn't see you there?" Another added under his breath. "Maybe you should watch where you're going." The new player stood up without a word. No frustration, no glare, no sign of anger. He just nodded and walked back into line like nothing had happened. The others watched him carefully now. It wasn't the fall that made them uneasy. It was how calmly he recovered. Like someone who'd been knocked down before, always got back up. As the drills continued, so did the whispers. Little jabs here and there, spoken just loud enough to be heard, but quiet enough to avoid the coach's ear. "He's too slow. Looks scared. Bet he never played real ball before." The words were meant to sting, but the new player acted like he didn't even hear them. He didn't retaliate, didn't defend himself. He just kept playing. But not carelessly. There was something controlled about his movements. Every missed shot was followed by a moment of stillness, then a subtle adjustment. He was studying his own form, refining it, tuning his body like a machine built for precision. One of the bullies deliberately sent him a bad pass, spinning the ball off to the side. The new player darted after it without complaint, recovered, and reset without hesitation. Another time, a shove sent him off balance during a rebound. Again, no reaction, just a smooth pivot, a deep breath, and back into position. It was as if every act of mockery was met with a deeper level of concentration. The coach remained focused on the tryout checklist. It's missing most of the bullying happening right in front of him. But a few of the other students noticed. They watched as the new player moved with a kind of discipline that didn't match the setting. His footwork was exact. His balance stayed centered. And every movement, even while being harassed, looked intentional, controlled, trained. Meanwhile, the bullies were starting to get frustrated. They expected outbursts, anger, at the very least a flinch. But instead they were met with silence and unshaken determination. That silence was beginning to speak louder than their insults. It wasn't weakness they were looking at. It was restraint. It's a kind of restraint that doesn't come from fear, but from strength that doesn't need to be proven. Still, they pushed further, unaware that the more they provoked him, the closer they came to a lesson they would never forget. One of the bullies finally snapped. After hours of failed attempts to provoke a reaction, he leaned toward the others and muttered, "I'm going to break him." There was a bitter edge to his voice, the kind that didn't come from dominance, but from insecurity masked as confidence. The group nodded in agreement, tightening their formation as the scrimmage game began. The ball moved quickly across the court, sneakers screeched against the hardwood, and tension filled every pass and dribble. But now, their focus wasn't on winning. It was on one thing: making the new guy lose control. They started subtle. Shoulder bump here, a low elbow there. Then it escalated. One bully shoved him during a rebound, making him stumble. Another grabbed his jersey mid-run, pulling him off balance. Then came the hard push, right as he went for a layup. Someone slammed into his side and sent him sprawling to the floor. The ball bounced away and the whistle stayed silent. The coach had his back turned. Laughter erupted. Loud. Cruel. This wasn't just bullying anymore. It was a performance, a public attempt to humiliate him in front of everyone. A few players on the sidelines looked uncomfortable, shifting where they stood, but no one said a word. And yet through all of it, the new player slowly rose from the court. Same quiet face. But this time, something was different. His eyes weren't soft anymore. They were focused, piercing, like he'd just been waiting for permission. And now, they'd finally crossed the line. The game resumed. The ball came toward him again. One of the bullies, bigger, louder, overconfident, charged toward him with full speed, hoping to knock him flat again. But this time, the new player didn't backpedal. He didn't brace. He stepped forward. With one fluid movement, he grabbed the bully's arm, twisted his weight, and redirected the momentum, sending him flying across the court with a clean, controlled flip. The gym went dead silent. For a second, no one moved. The boy who'd been thrown lay on the floor, groaning. The coach turned just in time to see the aftermath. Another bully, furious, charged in, shouting something incoherent. But before he could land a shove, the new player ducked, turned, and swept his legs out from under him. He hit the ground hard, wind knocked from his chest. He didn't get back up right away. Now it was no longer just about basketball. Then the third bully, the one who had laughed the loudest all day, stepped forward, only to freeze in place. He saw the stance. The angle of the feet, the poise of the hands, the razor-sharp focus in the new player's eyes. It wasn't random, wasn't luck. This was training, discipline, control. And suddenly, the loudest mouth had nothing left to say. The game stopped. No whistle, no words. Just the sound of realization settling into the hearts of everyone watching. They hadn't been mocking up, weakling. They had been poking a sleeping storm. And now, they were finally seeing who they had dared to challenge. The coach stormed onto the court, his voice cutting through the thick silence. "What's going on here?" he barked, scanning the gym for answers. But as his eyes landed on the scene in front of him, two players on the floor, winded and stunned, others frozen in disbelief, he slowed. His voice faded as he took in the sight. The new player wasn't aggressive, wasn't defensive. He stood a few steps back from the others, arms relaxed, breathing steady. He hadn't chased anyone. He hadn't yelled. He simply stood there. Calm in the middle of the storm, he didn't start, but certainly had ended. The bullies scrambled to their feet, shaken and wide-eyed. The confidence that had fueled their earlier taunts was gone, replaced by something closer to fear, or maybe awe. They didn't know how to process what had just happened. The kid they had been targeting all day, the quiet one, the one who never raised his voice, had just dismantled them with surgical precision. And the worst part? He didn't even look proud of it. There was no smugness in his face, no gloating, just silence, controlled, unshaken silence. The other players in the gym stared too, unsure of what they'd just witnessed. It hadn't been flashy or loud. There were no wild swings or trash talk, just smooth, lightning-fast moves that left the bullies on the floor and everyone else, questioning everything they thought they knew about the new guy. He hadn't come in looking for a fight. He came to try out, to earn his spot. But when pushed past the line, he didn't lash out. He responded with precision and purpose. The coach stepped closer, cautiously. He looked the new player up and down, still unsure how to read him. "Where did you learn that?" he asked, his voice quieter now, laced with a mix of curiosity and concern. For a long moment, the gym held its breath. And then finally, the new player spoke. Just one sentence, steady and simple. "I've trained since I was 5. That was all." No explanation, no bragging, no need to say more. The meaning was clear. This wasn't some lucky fluke. This was years of discipline, of balance, of knowing how to control power without abusing it. No one laughed after that. The bullies, now humbled, stepped away and didn't look back. Whatever they thought of him before had been replaced by something much deeper. The new player didn't need to argue or prove anything. He had shown with his actions the strength they could never fake. And as the tryouts continued, the atmosphere shifted. Players gave him space, not out of fear but respect. Even the coach, still holding his clipboard, simply nodded and moved on. He had seen all he needed to see. And when the final team list was posted later that week, there was no surprise whose name was near the top.